Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Uh-oh.
The Days, the show. What? Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah.
No, we're good now.
All right. Welcome to Those Were the Days, the show about old TV, modern perspectives. You know the drill. We are finishing up Cooking Week, and I am so excited because we're doing like my favorite thing ever. But I can't do this alone. This is a meal that requires a little extra help, so I'm going to need with me my sous chef Travis.
All right, so I'm going to show you how to truss a chicken, but this particular chicken owes me money, and so I'm just going to beat the hell out of it, and I'm going to manhandle this thing, and I'm going to stab it with needles repeatedly and tie it up real nice, and then put it on a spit.
And my saucier, Audie.
This is Earl Butts. Yes, that is my real name. I am your current U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, which means I'm the head of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, I understand our good friend Miss Julia Child was talking about chickens on her most recent program. As she had her hands all over multiple yet-to-be-cooked chickens, she informed you, her audience, to contact the USDA if you have any misgivings about the conditions of the old chickens. Again, as she never washed her hands once and touched just about everything in the kitchen, I want to assure her and you that the poultry you purchase in this country was well expected, inspected, and maintains the highest standards of quality. If you do receive a chicken that you are unsure of its quality, please pack it away thoroughly, wash your hands with soap and water, and then feel free to contact your local government officials who will bring it to our attention if needs be. Thank you. Wash your hands, and God bless the United States of America.
And my pastry chef, Steven.
You can cook a chicken a whole lot of different ways. There's boiled chicken, roast chicken, grilled chicken, fried chicken. There's chicken Creole, chicken kebab, chicken a la king, chicken sandwich, chicken stew. I guess that's about it.
Well, so we are talking
Oh my
about
God.
Julia Child, the French chef, and her episode to roast a chicken. Now, I so I'm going to assume that we all went into this knowing who Julia Child was. Like it's easy. She's probably one of the more parodied TV chefs. I think anywhere.
I would say
And
so.
she's like was literally the first cooking show, which is wild to think about because cooking shows are everywhere. um had any of you actually seen Julia Child before?
No. Nope.
I had seen clips. I
Sure.
don't believe I've ever watched a full episode of The French Chef.
Yeah. Now, so Julia's a big hero of mine, for a lot of reasons, and I want to like talk about her as a person for a hot second. Um, so first of all, she worked for the OSS during World War II. She did decoding and spy work, and she developed shark repellent to keep sharks from attacking the anti-submarine ordinances and detonating them. So that's wild. And she did all that because she was too tall for the women's auxiliary because she was 6'2".
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where Batman got his shark repellent spray from.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. There's like a big there's like a little quip in some of her bios about how that was like her first cooking experiment. Because that's the thing about Julia, right? So this is what I love about her is that she this is what she's known for, right? Like she is known for her cookbooks and her show and cooking, and this is her thing. She did not know how to cook until she got married. she had no real interest in food. She came from a family that had some money, like it, and like she didn't have like sit around and do whatever you want money, but she came from money. She came from a family that had a cook. So she never learned how to cook growing up. And it wasn't until she met her husband Paul that she did. And so she graduated from the Cordon Bleu at age 39. She published her first cookbook at age 49, and her first television show started when she was 51. And especially for a woman in the 60s and 70s, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Hey,
that's
it's
like
never too late to
wild.
chase your dreams, you know.
Yeah.
50's the new 25.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Get
big
on
fan
it.
of that. Um she has all of her kitchens were custom built to her because she is 6'2". Um her house, they had a guest house that they stayed at in Provence in France. That it belonged to one of her cooking partners. It was on their land, and basically they had a handshake deal that when they were done, they would just give it back. And it is now basically like an Airbnb where you can go and take cooking classes. And I'm not a big like bucket list person, but that one's on there. That'd be pretty delightful.
I think you'd said that last week, and I told my wife
Yeah.
about it. I was like, "Oh, did you know Julia Child's place is a Airbnb?" She's like, "I would like to go, please." And I said, "Amy
Yeah.
wants to go." She's like, "I would like to hang out with Amy and go to
Mhm.
France."
Let's
I was
let's
like,
go.
"Okay."
Pack it up, kids. We're heading out. Um, so the whole thing behind this cooking show, because one of the other things that Julia has said is that one of the things that she did was she knew her audience, right? Like she was not trying to make a show for everyone. She was trying to make a show for people who are interested in food and wanted to learn how to cook. And one of the biggest challenges that she had was translating recipes, because it's more than just like writing down recipes that, I mean, if you've ever written down a family recipe, you know how hard that is because no one measures anything in the first place. But
Mhm.
then there's not just the language translation, there's also an ingredients translation, because what we can get here and what
Yep.
you can get in Europe, they're completely different things. And so Julia's big thing was that she wanted any cook in America to be able to make one of these French recipes. Um and
Well,
this
and
really go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, at the time in the 50s and 60s, French food in America was considered like high class, and like you
Yep.
didn't cook it at home. You only got it at restaurants because
Yes.
you just didn't have the means to do it at home.
And while
So,
cooking at home was like an expressly women's work thing,
mhm,
French food, that's cuisine and that's men's work. And so this is like, that was a whole big deal too, right? It's like
yeah,
teaching the secrets. And like, it's like Bob Ross, right? Where Bob Ross takes painting and says, you don't have to be some hoity toity artist if you want to paint, like you can paint. Um, and I love that she brought that. And so, um, I picked this episode, especially for like the first like 10 minutes of it, um, because it does set a tone that if you are not actually familiar with Julia Child, it's probably pretty surprising. Um, so in the first few minutes, we learn about different kinds of chicken, which we've watched, like we're a little ways into this show now, boys, and we've watched a lot of shows that really highlight the differences between then and now. But I feel like Julia Child talking about chicken really highlights the differences between then and now.
it's such a difference because she talks about like at the market and at your butcher and all the different types of chicken, which they still exist. You can still get these different types of chickens, but not at your local supermarket. Your supermarket's going to have broiler fryers and they're going to have chicken parted out, and that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
And she even talks
90%,
about the ones that are like pumped full of growth pills that are all size and no flavor. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, that's where we're
yeah,
at.
that didn't get any better, Julia.
No,
I'm
No.
sorry.
only got
Nope.
worse.
I have a subscription to a local farm conglomerate where I get about now probably about 90% of the meat that I eat comes from this local farm thing. So that's great. So I can get good chicken. I just have to plan ahead for it.
Nice.
And there is a difference.
Oh
There's
yeah.
an absolute difference between a broiler chicken and a roaster chicken
Mm-hmm.
in terms of cook times, but also flavor. Like there is a difference in that flavor.
There was a video recently that went around the internet of some kind of cooking thing. I didn't see the original, but I saw the fallout of it because it was someone, I believe they were from New Zealand, and they were using butter, and people were saying that it was fake butter because it was yellow.
Right.
And it was like, no, 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 no. That's just
Fun.
good butter.
Fun fact: butter was the first food approved by the FDA for food coloring.
Well.
So butter is yellow because they wanted it to be yellow, and the FDA approved it. First time. Yeah.
So, we learned a lot about chickens in this beginning bit. Now, I did, as Audie pointed out, I did also get kind of skeeved out about the amount of touching chicken
Oh.
and other things.
I was
Oh my gosh.
uncomfortable.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm not the only one. Good lord.
No,
Yeah, it
I
was-
definitely noticed it, but I also don't think that like she ever got like it was never like a thing. You know what I mean? It's just it's different, right? Because it's also right. Factory farming is going to increase your likelihood of disease and things like
Yeah.
that. We don't wash chickens anymore,
Nope.
really, because it doesn't do
It doesn't do
but
anything, and
get
it just
chicken
spreads
water
whatever could be
everywhere.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over your
Yeah,
sink. So
just cook
And
it
I'm
a
sure,
lot.
like, after cooking, they washed everything with,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, stuff like that. Middle of it, salmonella.
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
stressful.
My
Although
brother-in-law is a scientist, and he's done some studies or been privy to journals and whatnot. 100% of chickens tested had salmonella on them, so it's not
Yeah.
like it's a maybe. It's on
Yeah.
there, guaranteed.
But she
I
had those
did
green and
watch-
orange paper towels, so she was
You're
safe.
good.
She was good.
So I knew that appliances were that color back then. I didn't realize the paper towels were that
It
color
was a
too.
magical
Right.
time.
That was crazy. They had avocado paper towel and like the golden harvester or sunburst paper towel. I did watch another episode after this where she was doing hard cooked eggs, and one of the things I noticed in that episode was her just very cavalier attitude towards like sanitation, in terms of she would just like huck stuff behind her.
Yeah.
She would get
Oh,
done
yeah.
like with she cleaned off the counter, right? She brought everything into her hand and then just threw it behind her like
Yeah.
blindly and kept cooking. And I'm like, for some reason I just loved that, like this idea that she had a food mill and she got done with that and just threw it to the side.
Yeah.
Like just
It's
tossed
Swedish
it across
chef.
the
Because the
kitchen.
thing is, yeah, I mean,
Word.
kinda. Right. And I mean, because the thing is, right, like, this is the first cooking show. So it's like, what are you going to do? All right, great. I guess
Yeah.
that this is going back there.
We haven't gotten
Sure.
nurses yet, so
Yeah. So it's
Yep.
fine, you know. So in those first few minutes learning about different kinds of chicken, we learned that chickens are named based off of their size and age, right? And so you've got a little fryer hen, which is, the smallest and youngest. And it's really when she gets to the part talking about the chicken beyond the age of consent that
That
really
got me.
it's really where it sets a tone. It sets a tone. And then she talks about the I can't think of the French name for it, but the rooster that is a eunuch, and like all eunuchs
yeah.
has gotten fat, which was good. And then the other one, which is similar but on the pill, and I was like, what are man, 1971 was a wild
Wow.
time. Wild time. She was 59 in this episode, just for reference. Like she is like and so like it's that kind of thing, right? Where I would imagine that some people in 1971 would have watched that and been like, no, thank
There
you.
definitely were people that would watch that and clutch their pearls.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
And Julia, to her credit, doesn't care.
she does not
Right.
care. It is not important to her.
There are definitely some ladies down here in the southern part of this country that would say stuff like that and wouldn't bat an eye. And she so reminded me of those kind of ladies.
Yeah, the spunky grandmas.
Mhm.
You know them. That looks like
Uh,
sweet tea, but that's a Long Island. Yeah, you
Hmm.
know, that's what that is. I'll tell you this: the breastbone thing with the cartilage deal.
mhm.
She explained that. Blew my mind. Blew my mind so
Right?
much while I was watching it that I went downstairs and said, "Stephanie, you will not believe what I just." And she looked at me like I had lost my mind. I was like, "The young chickens have more cartilage in the breastbone, and you can't just use that for anything. That's a roasting chicken." You know, it
So,
was a
like
good time.
this episode, especially, you can see the DNA that eventually leads you to good eats,
Yep.
Yes.
right? Like it's
Hmm.
there because
Yeah.
Julia doesn't just want to tell you, here's what you do. It's here's what you do and why. Because what that lets you do, especially when, like I said, when you're translating these recipes from other places, is if you can't do it the way that she said, if you understand why you're doing it, you can make your own substitutions with what you have available.
Hmm.
Um, which is like she really it's not just about giving you recipes and showing you how to do them, it's making you a better cook.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Because she definitely encouraged those substitutions. She's like, here's what I'm using. Here's why it matters. If you don't have that, here's something else.
Mm-hmm.
Use this or use that because that'll work and give you the flavor you want.
And it
and
encourages the feel of cooking and not so
right.
much the rigorous rules. But like I talked
Mhm.
about last week, like watching all these different cooking shows has opened my eyes to this idea that like there aren't hard and fast rules. You can just be like, oh, I'm gonna throw this in there instead and just start having fun with it. And that's what she's doing the same thing. It's just have some fun. Play
Yeah.
around, see what you get.
Mhm. Um, one of the things I love too, right, is that she doesn't do like takes. Like this is not there are no like she goes to throw that tarragon in there and she's like, "Well, I did that bad. I guess we should put some more in there." Um
I loved that. It was one take.
mhm.
There's multiple cameras, but you can tell they just
Oh yeah,
started and she's like, I'm just gonna
we're
go
just cooking it.
for 28 minutes
Mhm.
and we're gonna do
Hmm.
this. And then when we're done, we're done. And that's it. She's flubbing over words.
Yeah,
Mhm.
She's missing all that stuff. It was
because that's not the
loved
important
it.
part.
No, it's not.
She's not
Yeah.
putting on a show. She's giving you the information. And it does make it really feel like you're in her kitchen. I mean, you are
Hmm.
in her kitchen, but
Yeah. You
um,
definitely feel like you're sitting there right across the table from her as
yep.
she's telling you what's going on.
There's another cake. I mean, there's another episode where she makes a cake, and they go to France. Like she shows you all the components ahead of time, and this is how this is going to go. And now we're going to go watch this French pastry chef make it there. Julia's French is amazing to listen to because she sounds exactly the same. She's just speaking French, and it's wild because she has a very distinctive voice.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, she does.
Um, I want to talk about that stove for a minute though, like her oven with the plug-in rotisserie.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
We had our microwave when I was growing up had a plug for a temperature probe, which I thought was revolutionary. I know. I know,
I've
in the
never
microwave, which
That's
seems
crazy.
seen that.
wild.
Mm-mm.
But that thing with the rotisserie, and I was like, I want that in my kitchen. I mean, I have my little air fryer oven, convection oven that does also, I believe, have a rotisserie option, but it's not the same. I don't know how I feel about the open air rotisserie,
I just
Yeah.
feel like that would take so long to cook
right?
because
Yeah.
it'd be so inefficient
That's what I was
And
thinking.
that
was it just
way.
me? Did it look like anything was actually heating the chicken, or did she just turn on the spit to turn and that was it?
She might have just turned on the spit to turn because
Okay.
it was,
I
Yeah.
was like,
the
I
thing.
want some flame under my
Mm-hmm.
chicken.
Some
I
canned
like,
heat, you know?
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, cooking twine. Let's not ever underestimate the importance of cooking twine. That was honestly the one that really got me in terms of the we're gonna touch everything in the kitchen. It was the like constant grabbing of the
Hmm.
ball of cotton kitchen twine. And
All I
Constantly
could
grabbing that.
see was, oh, sorry, Travis.
Oh, it's just grabbing that, grabbing her glasses and putting them on, and then taking her
Mhm.
glasses off, and the twine, the needle, like just
I
everything.
mean, that's fine. The needle, because you're gonna wash the needle, because the needle has been
Right.
through the chicken.
Sure.
Like that's
Yeah.
fine, and like the knife and whatever, like fine.
It's like we were all
was
just
the bullet
watching
one.
someone transport salmonella to every object around. We all, in this modern age where we're very
Yeah.
aware, it was very hard to watch her like pat a chicken with her full palms, just on
Mhm.
there,
Yeah.
and then grab a ball of twine, and then stack raw bacon on top of the chicken, and then like make a neat little bow, and then all she did was wipe off her hands with a paper towel, and
paper
you're like,
towel.
that's not gonna do it, Julia.
Now, that said, well, I mean, that said, like, so she's in like this. So this was done here, in Massachusetts. She lived in Cambridge at the time, and I mean, that said, she probably got them from like, the place down the street, right? Like, it's probably okay. Like, it
Yeah.
honestly probably is okay.
Yeah,
But
I will say,
now
like,
it would not be.
nowadays we're so hyper conscious of it all that we notice that it's probably fine, but it feels so weird because we've had it such
Mhm.
drilled in our heads that you don't do that. You wash your hands and you wash everything off, and you don't touch raw meat and use it on a wooden cutting board
I
Yeah.
and
do.
like
I
that
do.
kind of stuff.
I do. I do. I clean it
Um,
real good and let it dry. I
oh
do.
yeah, you can,
It's
you absolutely can.
Mhm.
Obviously, people did it for how long before, and
forever.
they lived like they
Mhm.
were
Yeah.
fine. But the thing with the thing with that scene, that section, that was to me the most memorable thing was just she did not gently move that chicken around at all. She was tossing that thing left and right. She was, bending it in all manner of ways. Like
It's already
she
dead.
roughhoused that thing
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it
Yeah.
didn't matter.
And
Cutting the wishbone out, which that's a smart move.
That was wild. I didn't. Yep, that was a thing I learned.
and Steven can testify to this. It's like watching the nurses deal with your newborn child, and you're sitting back there like, what the heck? And they're just like manhandling that kid, washing him off, doing everything. You're like, but
I don't know
yeah.
Bendy at that
You're
size.
gonna
It's fine.
break
Mhm.
it. Like, what are you doing? It's just got here.
Do you know what
That's
it
the
just went
feeling I
through?
had.
It's not gonna. With what it just went through, it's not gonna break.
I'm
Don't even
just-
worry about it. Real
Look,
Bendy.
yeah. You learn that later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
None of it connects at first. It's fine.
No.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, right? Is that's the I want to say it was Martin Yan in an episode talks about like massaging the chicken too
Oh
to
yeah.
like really relax it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a whole thing. That chicken did look real good by the time it was done.
Oh man.
Boy,
Yeah, it did.
I tell you what, I was like, I just ate dinner and I want roast chicken right
Roast
now.
chicken.
Yeah. I am not good at cutting chicken, and I learned a lot just watching her cut the chicken because I'm a disaster. My wife would be like, "You left like 85% of the meat on that. Just go somewhere. I'll take care of this." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what I'm doing." So like, it was really cool to watch her cut off the wings, and then it's like, "Oh, now you can really
Yeah.
get to the slices of bread. Oh, I see how
Mhm.
this works." I was enlightened. I learned a lot.
So there's the part at the beginning where she's like chopping off the little extra piece of neck that got left,
Yeah.
and she's like, if you're smart, not like me, you can get between the vertebrae.
Her grunts,
Yeah.
by the way, like the Julia Child grunts and fights, like, yeah, like you wouldn't do that
Oh,
on
yeah.
today's TV.
That's what I'm saying, right? You got to be Nigella Lawson now, right? You
Yeah.
have to be like perfect, and just everything's going to be very smooth, and your nails are going to be immaculate, and
Yeah.
And here's
everything's
Julia
going to
Child
be.
just like suplexing chickens and stabbing at him with a knife. Like there were a few times I normally when I'm watching a cooking show, I'm like, no, everybody here is just great knife work and all this. And to Julia Child's credit, when she was mincing like a shallot or
Oh
something,
yeah.
it was phenomenal, but also frightening to watch because I'm just like, she is gonna stab herself at some point. Like
Mhm.
she's shoving that needle through there, and all I could think of watching her trussing that chicken is if I were sitting next to Steven while she was stabbing this needle into the chicken, and threw with her hand right there, and like just picturing you just like white knuckling it the whole time.
Oh yeah, just absolute anxiety ridden. Like, are we gonna make it through this without seeing blood? That would be great. But and this too, her behavior really lends to the parodies for me because
Yeah.
I've seen the parodies of her, but never really put it together. And it really is an embellishment of everything she actually did because they always
yeah.
showed her throwing junk and like stabbing things. And Swedish Chef is clearly, now I understand, a play on the French Chef completely. Like he's not that far off of what she's doing. It's just dialed to 11. So
Yeah.
this
His
opened my
vegetables
eyes.
just talk.
Yeah, they just talk to him, and the shrimp, will hold him at gunpoint
Yeah.
and stuff. But that's it's basically the same show.
There's an episode where she makes I want to say it's like a roast potato like pancakey kind of thing, and she goes to flip it and it falls out of the pan, and she just like picks it up and puts it back in the pan, and she's like, "You're in your kitchen, nobody can see." Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Why does
Nice.
it have to be perfect? It doesn't. Don't
It's
even
so
worry
good.
about it.
Film is
Which I mean, that's
expensive.
the yeah. Well, but that's the Bob Ross, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's food.
And it's
Like
the accessibility of it. It's demystifying French cuisine
yeah.
into no, you're just making like again the eggs episode that I watched right after this one. She's doing filled eggs, and she's like, "There's nothing to this. You get the yolk out, you mix it up with some other things, you pipe it back in, you're done. Like there
Yeah.
you go. Throw a little mayonnaise on top of it and have a day." Like
Mhm.
it was just demystifying all of that and not making it this like thing full of ritual and you have to do it a certain way. It's like, no, it's good food. You can cook. And if you mess up part of it, oh well, move on.
And if it
Yeah.
doesn't look pretty, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It still tastes good.
Mhm.
On the cake episode, it's I think it's gâteau in a cage where they take a cake and they fill it with cream and berries and then they put this caramel cage on top of it. And she uses a store-bought cake. She's like, "Yeah, this one."
Nice.
She's like, "And then you need a cake. This one is store-bought." It is the nicest looking like plain store-bought cake I've ever seen, but it's fine. You know what I mean? And she shows you how to make caramel and then drizzle it on a bowl and not screw it up when you pop it off. And at one point, she's doing 3 things at once, and she's like, "I promise you I'm watching that caramel over there because if I don't, it's going to burn,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
going to be terrible."
That stuff
There's
burns in a
nothing
And
worse than
second.
burnt sugar.
yeah.
I've tried making caramel cake because my grandma was like, she knew how to make a caramel cake. It's like yellow cake, 3
Mhm.
layers with caramel, and it's just like this perfect. It's not an icing. It's like a hard shell around the
Yeah.
cake. That's impossible. Dealing with caramel
It's
is
really
just a
hard.
nightmare. I don't know how my grandma
Uh,
did it.
yeah, there's a lot of things about it because if you jar it just wrong, it'll start to crystallize. Like if you
Yeah.
get any crystals in there, it just catches
Yep.
onto them.
If you burn it,
Julia's method,
oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, if you let it burn. Julia's method is she leaves it until there's basically no steam. And then
Ooh.
then you can go look at it. If you smell burnt, it's too late.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I mentioned how she just roughhouses those chickens and everything. She
So
also has
much.
those chef asbestos hands
Oh
because
yeah.
that chicken, when she was handling that cooked chicken she pulled out of the oven, you could see the steam coming off of it. And she's just like laying her hand on there to
Mhm.
carve it. And I'm thinking, I've burnt my hand watching this now. Thank you. Like I can feel the heat in my hands. And you're just
Yeah.
like, whatever, pulling stuff off there. It doesn't, no nerve endings in those
No.
hands, but
No.
delicate and can massage the chicken just right. There's some weird balance to that
She has
that I just
Yeah.
don't
6-inch
have.
thick calluses on her hands. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're basically
Yikes.
oven mitts. They're barely hands
Mhm.
anymore.
So the other part about this one that I liked, right, is like roast chicken is sort of one of those like super basic meals, right? Like that's your like anybody can roast a chicken, but now it's like, all right, but let's make it better than that. Which I think is good, right? Because that's like your Sunday dinner, right?
Oh
Roast
yeah.
chicken
Yeah.
high on the list of Sunday dinners. And so it's like, well, now you can have like really nice Sunday dinner. Um, I liked her talking about how there's nothing worse than when you have people over and then the food's not done when it's
Mhm.
supposed to be. So she just plans for a half hour beyond the longest time it could take. And I was like, Julia, that's so smart. I need to do better about
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
That's very smart.
That one, there was also her suggestion of present the chicken and then take it back into the kitchen to carve it, so
To
no one
carve
has
it.
to watch you do that.
Yep.
Because it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of gross. Like, if you're
Yeah.
not, like, there's plenty of people that find that kind of gross. Plus, also, like, your table is not meant for carving.
No.
You
No.
know, you're going to get juice on your nice tablecloth and it's going to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Which
but
is funny because that's how they portray it in TV and movies all the time. They put the
Oh, yeah.
bird down and carve it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
No.
It's
Did you
not made
guys do
for
that
it.
like a ritual? Did he like your dad always carves the turkey, or does it just like let's just eat it? I don't care.
I feel like we used to,
we did.
maybe.
Yeah, we did when we were younger. Now it's just, Dad, go carve the turkey. It's in the kitchen.
I did
And
it
he'll
this
That's about how
year.
it
wander
is
in
For
with
there
us
and
too.
this past year, I carved the turkey, or I
Nice.
started carving the turkey, and then I got bored and made my oldest nephew do it.
My
I
brother-in-law
was
always
like,
Yeah.
carves the
I'm
turkey.
tired. This is a very large turkey, and I am very tired of doing this. Someone else do it now.
Mhm.
It's very well
we've done
known in our family that I don't know how to do anything other than clean up. So I am the me
That
and
is a
Ashley are
valuable
the
asset,
yeah
though.
yes, it is.
we're the dish doers. That's what we do. And I'm fine with that.
That's
Yeah,
solid.
we've roasted a turkey for a couple years now here at home when we needed to. Like we did it at Thanksgiving with friends in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
Just because my wife was like, I want us to do Thanksgiving proper with our friends.
Yeah.
So I found a method to roast it, and it's by an online guy, Adam Ragusia, and his method of carving is like cut it up. Doesn't matter what it looks like; it matters
Yeah.
how it is and how much you're going to be able to get gravy on there. So, like, I loved his method of just like tear it apart, cut it up, chop it up, let
Whatever you
people
got to
get
do.
what they want.
Yeah.
Hmm
It's good.
2020 was like my first Thanksgiving not being with my family because I was just like at home. And so I got the good turkey. I got the good turkey from the farm, which cost me
Ooh.
so much money. And I brined it and I roasted it and I did all the sides. And there was so much food. So then I put together to go plates. And one of my friends came and I met them in the parking lot because it was 2020 and it was very scary at that time.
Yeah.
And so I met them in
hmm
the parking lot and I like handed over their little to go plates of Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh,
And I
that
did. I
sounds
felt like
great.
Julia, right? I'm like, my kitchen is a disaster.
hmm
Everything is great, but that turkey was, oh, it was really good.
Well, I'm going north for Thanksgiving next time. That's all I know. I'll be at
There
your
you go.
place. Could you please
I'm
bring me
on it.
out one Thanksgiving plate? Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I can. um, so I'm trying to think what else to say about Julia. I love Julia. So there's like a lot of portrayals of Julia Child. There's the Julia movie, which about the blogger who, and Julia Child did not care for that. Um, she's like, it's a stunt, and just saying 4-letter words while cooking is like not anything, which is
Oh, was
pretty,
that the Meryl Streep one?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, there's a series on HBO called Julia that is quite good. I mean, it's still, a fictionalized telling of her biography. It's a little closer to the reality, right? Like, and it's about basically the start of the show. There's still a little drama stuff to it
Always is.
They
because
gotta do
it's
that.
HBO, so
Yeah.
But
How much
David
full
Hyde
frontal
Pierce,
nudity is in that one? HBO loves their
um,
nudity.
they do. There's not a lot in Julia, but there is in the first episode. She goes to the doctor and finds out she has menopause, and there's this like very emotional thing about it. But she didn't have kids. She didn't want kids, so she probably was actually
It's
probably fine
pretty
with
okay
that.
with
I'm
that.
just gonna say, it's probably okay. But David Hyde Pierce plays her husband Paul, who is a painter, which is fun. He was also a diplomat, and they met during World War II because he was also in the OSS.
Yeah.
And BB Newirth plays her best friend, which is phenomenal. Yeah, so her house in Cambridge, you can still go by there. Her kitchen is in one of the various museums in Washington, D.C., and you can go stay at her house in Provence and take cooking lessons. They do advertise the cooking lessons as like, this is not Julia Child's cooking. And I'm like, I don't know that that is really, I don't know that that's the angle you want to play there,
Yeah.
Right.
but okay, I guess. I
Seems
just want
odd.
to sit on her front lawn and drink good wine.
Mm-hmm.
My plan.
I wouldn't mind cooking in her kitchen just because, as somebody who is above 6'2", it would be nice to use a kitchen designed for someone of my height.
It's built
Yeah.
for you.
I would need a footstool 100% of the time. It'd be very exciting.
I think there's also something to be said of her legacy as a cook on TV. She started this show when it was black and white.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she transitioned into color television. How many shows have lasted that long?
What was it, 200 and
Period.
something, 206 episodes of The French Chef, I think?
Yeah. And that was
Over the-
not her only show.
Right.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, because she died in 2004, and I want to say that she was still doing a show in 2004.
Wow.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild. She died 2 days before her 92nd birthday.
Mm.
And my great aunt would tell you that it's the butter and the no children, and that's why she lived to be almost 92. Yeah, that's so yeah, I mean, we don't have any of this. We don't have any cooking shows without Julia Child.
Yep.
No, we
It's
really don't.
basically
No,
where
no.
that lands.
We owe it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned seeing the DNA into Good Eats,
Yeah.
and like Alton Brown said, it was Julia Child, Mr. Wizard, and Monty Python, and he mashed those three things together to make Good Eats.
Yeah.
And like, it's perfect because you can just see it. You can see her influence in so many cooking programs and how the evolution. We're seeing the proto cooking show here
Yeah.
with Julia Child and the French Chef, and seeing as things evolved and became more presentational, while some of them still retaining that informational aspect of it, and the host having to be, I mean, nobody was ever going to be Julia Child again.
No.
And luckily, very few tried to really replicate that.
Yeah.
People figured out pretty quickly they could do something similar, but they've got to make it their own.
I mean, because she was
And-
still doing it, was part of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And
but
you're
yeah,
right, we don't have the Food Network without Julia Child.
right. Every chef that has their 8 little trash bins directly under the counter that you can't see, and their 6 versions of the meal that they've already prepared, like, they owe that all to Julia going, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Or Julia, the PA that had to clean that set up after she got done taping an episode.
Yeah. I adore her. I did finally it was a large gap in my cookbook collection because I didn't actually own The Art of French Cooking. Largely because my mother had it, so I didn't really need it because I had access, but I did pick up my own copy of The Art of French Cooking. So I have it now. So I too can make horrible aspects anytime I want. Thanks. So do you think that you would watch more Julia Child, Steven?
Oh,
Yeah.
Or good, or yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you would, Travis.
I really did enjoy it, and I could see myself picking through these episodes, like where I told you guys last week we've been cooking at home a lot more, and I need to get better at it because tonight I dried out the pork tenderloin like you wouldn't believe.
That's so easy to do.
That's what my wife said. Don't take it too hard, and I'm like,
No.
with barbecue sauce will fix anything, so it's not a big deal. So, but yeah,
True.
so I'm like, I need to start devoting a little more time to some of these shows because there's creative dishes that I could totally do. This whole series has shown me a lot. And the series, I mean, our whole theme this month has shown me a lot of possibilities in just having fun and trying stuff and whipping things together, and it's been a joy. And I would definitely watch Julia Child some more.
Oh yay! How about you, Audie?
Oh, absolutely. Like it's funny after watching this, realizing how much of the YouTube cooking shows I watch are absolutely Julia Child inspired. Like they're the ones that are all hands on or like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We're gonna do this. This is the way it works. This is how it goes. And realizing that Julia was doing that at the beginning, I was like, okay, all right, I'm on board.
Mm-hmm. Because it's one thing to say, like, finely dice a shallot. And if you
Mhm.
don't like you can go, I don't know what that means.
Hmm.
How finely? What's a dice? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, like that. Got it. No problem. Can do. Trav, you're back in.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all in. Yeah, I'm watching. I mean, and they're on the Roku channel. You can watch them
Yeah.
for free,
Hmm.
Yep.
and it's just great because it's one of those where I love cooking shows that give you the why along with
Yeah.
the how, like why you're gonna pay attention to this thing or that thing, and she did that. And plus, French cooking is one that I personally don't pay enough attention to, like.
Sure.
And so to kind of learn some more of these, French techniques and styles of stuff to make, I think is really fun. And she's just a joy to watch.
Ah,
Also, I have to bring up real quick, how terrible is it for chickens to be named after the way you're going to be cooked?
I mean that's rough.
Yeah, that was
Like that's a
brutal.
That
rough.
is rough.
That's got to be rough. Yeah, you're a broiler. We're gonna broil you later.
Mhm.
Like it's just not cool.
I mean, the old lady hen that's just only good for soup.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and I mean, because that's the thing, right? Is like you got to think about that. Like even in the 60s and 70s, for a lot of people, they're getting their chicken from their back garden.
Yeah.
When their egg layer is maybe not laying eggs anymore, or you've hatched some eggs and now you like that's coq au vin, which is a very like one of the core French meals, is made from a young rooster when you are culling the roosters out of your chicken coop because you can't have multiple roosters. And so
That won't
that's why
that
coq au
won't go
vin
well.
is that.
Nope.
You just have your little rooster. Yeah. So, you maybe aren't getting the old hen at the you aren't getting the old hen at the market, but you probably get her in the
No,
back
but
garden.
boy, I bet if you could though, the chicken soup you could make with that has got to just be dynamite.
Hmm.
I don't know. They do that. People will say like, well, if you had to kill all your own food, like where would you land, right? And so like fish, no problem, easy peasy. I could do that. I live near the water, not a problem. And I feel like I could learn to do chicken, right? I could at the very least do eggs. That's easy.
Hmm.
But I feel like I could eventually learn, get over, and do chicken, and that would be fine. Um, a- and you know, there's that. Um, so we have a problem now, boys, and I don't know
Yeah.
how we want to solve it real quick, because we didn't actually put up the poll for next week.
We
No.
sort of the four of us collectively dropped the ball on that one.
We did.
And it wasn't even like I can't even blame it on the like, oh, I think somebody else did it. I just completely forgot myself. Like I just went
Oh, so we're just gonna
in
blame
one.
Travis. Sweet.
Yeah, blame me. That's fine.
Uh-huh.
I'm good with that. But yeah, we need to choose a topic
How do you want to choose a
for.
topic? We have Skeezix and Monkey Bananas in the chat.
Yeah, I mean we can see what they think in terms of our choices.
All right.
So let's give some choices and see what Ski Six and Monkey Bananas are feeling.
Where's my thing? Where the list of what the thing was supposed to be? All right. So the options are variety show. Uh, it was variety show,
Oh,
political, cop shows, or power couples. Variety shows, political, cop shows, power couples. Chat room, please decide
give
our
us give
topic.
us a choice here. We want to know. Do you want
And and then Travis will pick an episode at some point, and then we'll figure
Yeah,
it all out.
once we have the topic, I will have an episode chosen by tomorrow to put in, and I
The
will
show
post it
notes.
on Twitter, and we'll also go in the show notes.
We're winging it so hard. Julia would be proud.
She
Mhm.
really
This is such a
and
Julia
and
episode.
and again, cop shows are. So Skizik says variety shows would be interesting. I like this
Okay.
angle.
Mm.
I
Variety
do
shows
too.
would be interesting.
I have a favorite.
I have a couple of options. And variety shows are going to be different from sketch comedy show, I think. Or would that fall under that same umbrella? Do you
I
feel?
think it'd be all right.
Yeah,
If
Because it
that's
is
where
sort
we
of a
went. We're
variety. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it's
So
close enough. And trying to
those would
find
fall under
something
one umbrella.
streaming.
yeah. I think we can't hedge ourselves in too hard on that one.
All right. Well, then I think we do that. Then we'll go with
All right, we're gonna
variety
do
shows.
variety shows.
All right.
Yay!
Has been chosen. So I will have. There will be the choice of what my choice will be for next week for variety shows in the show notes of this episode. When that goes out, and I will also post it onto the Twitter account,
Mhm.
and we will have it there. So Skizix does say, "Please, someone choose Lawrence Welk." See what we get.
We'll see.
Which means I got some homework to do to
Yeah.
choose a variety show. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that is going to do it for this week. Thank
think it
you
is.
for Cooking Month. Cooking Month was super fun. We got a little bit of
Yeah.
everything.
We did.
We got like ostentatious, just over the top cooking presentation in Iron Chef.
Which was
We
the first cooking competition show.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. One of the first cooking shows ever with Julia Child.
Mhm.
Some simple down home Louisiana cooking with Justin Wilson and Martin
Mhm.
Yan showing us that yes, Yan can cook and so
And
can
so
you.
can
And
you.
that was it. What was great was they were all like the three informational cooking shows we did were very much, hey, cooking's not that hard. Let's demystify it. Let's make it
Yeah.
accessible to everybody and in very different ways. And I kind of liked how that was. So this was a fun month.
A lot more
But-
fun than I anticipated, for sure. Like, not that I didn't think we would have fun, but good gosh, this was a lot of fun.
I'm glad we got Steven through it because he was the one that
Mhm.
I was like most worried about.
Yeah.
Was that
And-
he was not going to be as into it.
yeah, and for the fact that like he's interested in cooking more now too.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so
We're
much fun.
doing the
So
good work out here, boys.
we
Which
are. We are.
FYI podcast listeners, Steven had to bounce real quick, so that's why
Yeah,
you don't
so
hear
we
him.
are. Yeah, we're feeling.
So
very hard.
we are going to wrap things up. But next week we start variety shows
Variety
with
Nice.
shows.
to
That's
be
something.
determined. Check the
Yeah.
show notes. You'll know what episode of what show to watch and what we're going to be talking about.
And so, until next week, for Stephen, for Audie, for Travis, I am Amy, and bon appetit.
Wash your hands.